America's history is a story told countless times, yet barely understood. Behind the familiar tales of pilgrims seeking freedom, revolutionaries fighting tyranny, and pioneers carving a new world lies a deeper, hidden narrative. A story of forgotten civilizations, suppressed documents, concealed motives, and uncomfortable truths buried beneath patriotic legend. Tonight, we peel back the layers of myth to uncover the secret history of America they never taught you. Consider subscribing to this channel. It helps the stories continue, and it ensures you never miss the next deep dive into history's forgotten mysteries. No pressure, just an invitation to stay curious with us. Long before European sails appeared on the horizon, the continent was already alive, with advanced societies, millions of people, sophisticated cities, astronomers, engineers, and political systems that rivaling those of Europe. Cahokia, near present-day St. Louis, was once a bustling metropolis larger than medieval London, filled with earthen pyramids aligned with the stars. In the southwest, the ancestral Puebloans engineered vast cliff dwellings that rose like fortresses from canyon walls. Along the east coast, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy developed a democratic system whose ideas echoed decades later in the United States Constitution. These civilizations rarely appear in textbooks because acknowledging them challenges the myth that America was an empty wilderness waiting to be discovered. It was simpler to create a story that began in 1492. Yet archaeology reveals a continent shaped by innovation, migration, diplomacy, warfare, spirituality, and trade thousands of years before Europeans arrived. Some cultures vanished due to drought and conflict. Others thrived into the 1500s. Their disappearance was later written as inevitable to justify new powers rising in their place. We are taught a romanticized version of exploration, brave captains seeking adventure, new trade routes, and scientific glory. But the original journals of Columbus and Cortez reveal something far more desperate: a hunt for gold, land, and labor. Europe was strained by economic collapse, religious wars, epidemics, and competition among kingdoms. The New World wasn't discovered, it was exploited. Columbus wrote openly about enslaving as many natives as needed. Exploration was driven not by curiosity, but by the struggle for resources and survival. As the colonies grew, leaders realized they needed a unifying story. Settlers came from different nations, religions, and backgrounds, often with conflicting interests. Myths became tools of unity. The Pilgrims were elevated as symbols of liberty, even though most colonists sought land and economic opportunity. The Founding Fathers were polished into flawless heroes, even though their own writings revealed disagreements, doubts, rivalries, and compromises. National identity required simple legends, even if the truth was complex. The American Revolution is usually presented as a pure fight for freedom, but private letters, British archives, and economic records reveal a messier reality. Wealthy merchants and land speculators feared losing control as Britain tightened regulations. Farmers wanted land. Laborers wanted stability. Frontiersmen wanted protection. It was not a single cause, but a storm of motivations condensed into the slogan of liberty. And inside the revolution, another conflict raged: a civil war. Loyalists, making up nearly a third of the population, were attacked, exiled, or forced to fight. Families split apart. Neighbors battled neighbors. Yet this internal struggle is rarely mentioned because it complicates the myth of unity. After independence, the new nation teetered on collapse. The government had little power, no stable currency, and no guarantee the states would remain united. The Constitutional Convention met behind locked doors, and delegates swore secrecy. The Constitution that emerged was not perfect. It was a fragile deal, balancing fear, ambition, and survival. Over time, it became legendary, but its creation was far more human and conflicted than the myth suggests. Westward expansion is framed as pioneers searching for opportunity. But government documents show strategic motives: economic control, military advantage, and geopolitical dominance. Manifest destiny didn't arise naturally. Newspapers, politicians, and investors promoted it to justify acquiring land, inhabited by sovereign native nations. Treaties were often confusing, manipulated, or broken. The frontier story later became heroic folklore, but in truth, expansion was a calculated campaign. America's industrial rise is celebrated as innovation. But hidden beneath the triumph were harsh realities, extreme labor exploitation, child labor, unsafe factories, and massive economic inequality. Railroad tycoons manipulated entire regions. Banks controlled communities through debt. Political machines bought influence and shaped laws. Industrialization built modern America, but it did so unevenly and at great cost. The world wars are often simplified as moral victories, but behind the scenes were secret agreements, intelligence strategies, corporate interests, and political maneuvering. America's rise as a superpower after World War II was not destiny. It was the result of calculated decisions, global positioning, and technological competition. Yet textbooks reduced these complexities to patriotic slogans. Throughout the 20th century, America expanded its global and domestic reach. Declassified records show covert operations abroad, surveillance programs at home, political interference, and experiments carried out in the name of national security. These events shaped the modern United States, yet remain largely absent from mainstream education because they challenge the nation's preferred self-image. History in America wasn't just selectively remembered, it was selectively taught. Politicians, publishers, committees, and cultural institutions decided which stories became national memory. Events that challenged unity were softened. Figures who caused conflict were simplified. Entire peoples were minimized or erased, not by accident, by design. Shared myths create identity, even when they are incomplete. Yet despite the omissions, America's story remains one of the most compelling on Earth, not because it is flawless, but because it is constantly evolving. Each generation reinterprets it, uncovers forgotten truths, and questions old assumptions. The Secret History of America teaches us how societies create narratives, how they use stories for unity, and how truth often lies between the lines. The hidden chapters of America's past reveal something essential about human nature: that people seek comfort in simple stories even when reality is more complex. They show how ambition and idealism often collide, how progress coexists with injustice, and how the nation struggled to balance its ideals with its actions. These lessons echo into the present, shaping modern debates about identity, justice, and power. America's true story is deeper, more challenging, and far more fascinating than the simplified version taught in classrooms. It is a story of innovation and inequality, bravery and betrayal, opportunity and oppression, triumph and tragedy. It is the story of ordinary people and extraordinary decisions, of ideals that were both upheld and betrayed. It is a story shaped not only by those who fought for freedom, but also by those whose stories were overlooked. History does not ask us to choose between pride and truth. It invites us to hold both, to celebrate achievements while acknowledging mistakes, to honor progress while understanding its cost. Only by embracing the full picture can we understand how the past shapes the present and how today's choices will shape the future. In the end, the secret history of America is not hidden in vaults or forbidden archives. It is hidden in plain sight, in the gaps between myth and evidence, in the stories left untold, in the voices forgotten by time. The real secret is that history belongs to those who seek it, question it, and dare to tell it honestly. America's story is still being written. With every discovery, every re-examination, and every voice willing to challenge tradition, the nation grows closer to understanding itself, not just as a country, but as an idea shaped by truth, struggle, hope, and the courage to uncover its own past. If you've enjoyed this journey into America's hidden past, consider subscribing to this channel. It helps the stories continue, and it ensures you never miss the next deep dive into history's forgotten mysteries. No pressure, just an invitation to stay curious with us.